You're listening to CreepGeeks Podcast. So it begins again. Welcome back to CreepGeeks Podcast. This is Season 8, Episode 329.
Drone mystery solved, NC sky explosions, Loch Ness monster DNA redo, and Grand Canyon ghost.
Yeah. So here we are. Welcome to the new year.
Yeah.
You know, it is what it is so far. Partly crappy.
Yeah.
So, anyway. Okay, so this is episode 329 of the CreepGeeks Podcast. What we like to do is we like to broadcast paranormal news and share our strange experiences from our underground bunker in the mountains of western North Carolina. I'm Greg.
I'm Omi.
And it begins again. So, in this particular podcast, we do have a lot of stuff we're going to talk about. Some of it is pretty much just catching up from previous episodes we've done. Like, we've talked a little bit about drones, enough about drones to the point where Omi doesn't really care about drones anymore. So maybe we can put this to rest for her, because I know a lot of people are all about drones still, and those people are I guess maybe late to the UFO thing, and some people are just holding on so hard.
Yeah,
these are not military, man. It's like, yes, I'm afraid they are. Because over time, I've realized that about 90%, I think, of what's out there is, and this is my own personal opinion, and I could be right or wrong, it doesn't matter. It's military. I used to be in the military, seen some weird stuff.
Yeah.
Now, there is some weird stuff. It's like, I don't know what that is. And, I'm not saying I know everything. I know a little bit. I had my secret clearance and all that stuff, and had a job where it was. But, man, some of this stuff's like, And the only way you can describe it or put an explanation to it is that there is technology more advanced that our government currently has, and other governments probably around the world, than what we would know or have been exposed to.
Yeah.
Because the idea that the government or the military or whatever has like wildly advanced technology is a wonderful thing to hold on to. Because in the event that aliens really do show up, guns a-blazing, we might be able to pull out some big giant, laser ray and blast them out of the sky. That's what the hope is. Mm-hmm. The reality is probably not nearly as good. But my fear is that, no, we don't have crap, and we've all been like gaslighting each other. Countries around the world, like China's been gaslighting. So Russia's been like, we don't have nothing, man. It's
basically the bluffing of the Cold War. And,
yeah. All that posturing. Because, look at Russia. They're like, we are the best. And it's like, we're not even, they are not. They are not. So, it all that saber rattling about, look at our military prowess, man. I hope we have scared ourselves into creating some of the most advanced technologies ever.
You have incredible faith.
I do have faith. Because you know why?
Why?
Because in the 40s, shortly after Orville and Wilbur Wright took their little flights, right? Not that long after, you had like Nazis flying in freaking jets, man. Yeah. Where did that come from? It's a huge leap in technology, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. We're all going to be killed by AI anyway. That's coming.
Okay.
As soon as the AI is like, I can fix the planet by eliminating a scourge. So. Anyway, just kind of wanted to, I don't even know why I went into that. Usually we follow some sort of little thing here where we say, well, they're going to talk about this and we're going to talk about that. But really, that's pretty much what we're going to talk about. Some drones and some other things. Mm-hmm. Because I think the drone mystery has been solved.
Okay.
Yes. Anyway, I'm Greg.
I'm Omi.
And here we go.
I think we did that part already.
I don't remember. It's been a terrible time. So we haven't done a podcast in a minute. Usually we take a little break around the new year. This time our break was pretty crappy. I had the flu for a week. You had the flu for a week. Whole family had the flu for a week. Everybody had the flu. Everybody's been going through some stuff, which we'll talk about next time. So this is a podcast that we wrote a couple weeks ago, actually.
Yeah.
And just didn't do it because we were sick and crappy sick. It was just been this year. Is almost as good so far as 2020, as the worst year ever. And it hasn't even started.
I had a friend stop into work, and they're going through some stuff. And we were talking, and I basically said, yes, I'm very sad right now. Yes, I'm sick right now. But at this point, I'm angry because I feel like it's the 97th day of January.
Yeah.
We haven't even really started 2025, and it's already awful.
It's long.
And it's long. Like I said, I saw some meme and it was like, "What day is it, dear boy?" And the boy says, "It's the 97th of January." And it's just like, it's not, things aren't good. And
now listen, we're not saying things aren't good because of like things you see in the news, because I'll be honest with you, and this is, I want everybody to know, I don't watch the freaking news anymore.
Yeah.
So my anger and vitriol with things is just basically, I've done it to myself.
Yeah.
I don't watch the news. I'll watch little clips every once in a while, and just enough to get, angry or whatever and move on, because it's just, everything is so negative.
Yeah.
And it's been that way, and everybody says that, so it's not like it's a new thing, but it's like, I don't have time in my life.
Yeah.
I have a hard enough time finding socks that match, and I've in my age, I'm buying socks that are all one color. I don't give a shit. They don't have to have, they're either going to be blue, gray, or black.
Yeah.
Or the weird poofy socks I got from a flea market, which have been amazing. I love those things so bad.
But
you know what I'm talking about, right?
And yeah.
It's pretty bad. It's like, go to the flea market and find that dude with these really thick boot socks that are just amazing. And they're like $4, and you can get a little fried churro thingy too. Delicious.
And you're saying, with intention you are avoiding the news. I work in the community. I have people in the community that we live in going through stuff. We're still a hurricane disaster site. Yes, I understand LA has happened, but it seems like every part of the United States there is something going on. Louisiana's buried in snow. There's all sorts of stuff, and you can't escape some of what you see, whether it's on the news or literally in your own neighborhood. It's been tough, y'all.
Yeah, and you know what else? The paranormal stuff sucks.
Yeah.
It's all boring. I'm like, come on, man. The drone stuff sucks. Paranormal stuff sucks.
Yeah.
So maybe it's just my outlook on things.
Which is funny because we were watching some new paranormal stuff last night, and I spent half the time looking up old episodes of Paranormal State, which is at this point is what, 15 years old almost?
Yeah, there's a lot of controversy around that.
Yeah, but still, we were watching something where they were investigating someplace that's been investigated by everybody. And here I am looking up actual facts and some alleged evidence that was captured 15 years ago.
Yeah. It's just weird. So, and I'm not saying that, that all the paranormal stuff is just bad. It's like, I've been saying it for a while. A lot of stuff is played out.
Yeah. And
it's like either we need some new stuff happening or people need to stop lying.
Well,
I'm going to say it. There's a lot of people lying out there.
Everybody's trying to say that this, the drone stuff and the UAP stuff is the new stuff. I'm sorry. It's the same song.
It's just with better evidence.
I think it's much more interesting that we're eventually going to talk about these and see sky explosions and the fact that the East Coast has had a series of mini earthquakes over the past week.
They happen all the time, but it seems like they've been more frequent.
Yeah.
So we have our theories about that.
Yeah. But
I like the paranormal, but it's kind of like, come on, man, give me something good.
Now, if you want to give us something good, whether it's a paranormal story or a lead or something you want us to talk about on the podcast, you can always reach out to us on social media. We have a very active Facebook group and Facebook page. We're also on Instagram and TikTok if you can get to us. Or you can visit CreepGeeks.com or give us a call. And that phone number, it's going to be 575-208-4025.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excuse me, I had a cough.
Yeah, we still are sick. We've been sick since Christmas.
My fear is, since that the area in which we live, Western North Carolina, has been geographically changed, it's just a lot of crud in the air. Everybody's kind of sick around here.
Oh, I saw a dust devil in my parking lot today.
What was he doing there? Did you tell him that was your spot?
Spinning up dirt from Mill
Crud,
Creek.
mildew, mold.
I had a little mini tornado in our parking lot, and me and some artists at the gallery next door were just standing there just watching this little dust devil.
Is that what you call people that are just kind of weirdly dressed artists?
No.
That's what I'm going to say. Whenever my clothes don't match, What do you do? I'm an artist.
Anyways.
And so what do you do? You wouldn't understand.
But it was like seeing like the dust devils in March in New Mexico and Arizona.
It's pretty dry.
But it's in it's in an old Fort North Carolina parking lot, you know?
Crazy. So anyway, when I get old, I look forward to being able to get off my grass. But this grandpa, in our first article here, this little news thing, I had to put it in here. He has taken it to an entirely new level.
We talked about this.
No, we didn't. Did we?
Yes,
I'm talking about it again because he's out there shooting drones. Get out of my yard.
Yes.
Did we really talk about it?
Yes, we did, because we were talking about something else, and I brought it up, and then I found the article. But just to recap, this was December 12th-ish.
Oh, never mind. We'll just uncover a file secret operation at the center of the drone investigation, and why White House can deny it.
This guy was ordered to pay for damage of a drone. So don't do what this guy did or what you see on TikTok and Instagram. Do not fire or attempt to destroy a drone.
Well, I think the reason why I put it in here, because it looked fresh to me, is that they actually have his picture, and he's a 72-year-old Florida man, but he looks like he has zero regrets. Mm-hmm. He just has a look like, I'll do it again.
Yeah.
So, but he shot a Walmart delivery drone.
Yeah, that's kind of bad.
He thought it was conducting surveillance on his property.
Gosh. Anyways.
I mean, he's not wrong. There's so much drone stuff on the news. If I was standing in front of the judge, I'd be like, what am I supposed to do, man? They got drones in New Jersey, Ohio, everywhere. Mm-hmm. I don't know what they're doing. Nobody's telling me what they're doing. They could be shooting me with some sort of alien death ray.
So on top of that dust devil I saw today, I saw another person out there trying to make TikTok videos with a drone out where I work.
You should start yelling at him. Boo!
I wanted to. Today was a day of almost losing that restraint.
Well, it's a good thing it's Friday.
It is not. Gosh.
Well, I mean, we did get a visit from the president and the vice president, and they said some pretty encouraging things, and they're like, let's cut through the red tape and get some stuff done. What was that? I think it's going to happen because, whether you like him or not, when the president calls you out, you kind of have either you answer the call to defend yourself, or you just say he's crazy. He's calling out insurance companies.
Yes.
I think that's great because insurance is a scam.
Yeah.
It is.
No, I agree. I just, my drive to work every day is so depressing. It is depressing. It is just as sad as those videos people see on the internet and on the news. And that is my drive to work every day for months now.
You should turn off the Sarah McLachlan song.
So at some point, I hear a lot of talk. Yes, I want it to change. But at the end of the day, once politicians leave, whether it's the new governor of North Carolina or the president, I'm waiting. I'm waiting for my ride to work to be less depressing.
Well, at least you have a ride to work.
That's true.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah, no, There's
people still living in tents and stuff, and people are like, I was like, man, it's been cold as hell here for what?
Yeah.
3 weeks?
No, I got to talk to somebody who she lost her mobile home and her vehicle today.
There's people's homes that became mobile.
Yeah.
It's like, and the latest is city enforcement officials going around and giving people parking tickets on their destroyed vehicles in front of their destroyed house, telling them they have 3 days to remove their destroyed vehicle.
Yeah.
Now, as far as I'm concerned, that's bullshit.
Yes.
I mean, yes, it's obviously an inoperable vehicle. That's what makes it even worse. It's not like it's abandoned. They're like, your vehicle is inoperative. You need to remove it. It's like next to my inoperative house.
Yeah.
Where, they're probably not even here.
No.
It's stuff like that makes me want somebody to come in and just exercise a little bit of logic.
Yeah.
Or start fist fighting with city officials or something, saying, all these rules and stuff that you have, I think some things need to be,
changed.
There needs to be something more than just, it seems like a zero tolerance when it comes to enforcing municipal stuff.
And that's the thing. Depending on where you are, there is a lot of grace and people are using logic. There's other areas of Western North Carolina where it's not. They're like, they are putting tickets on cars. They are walking up to houses where the only thing left standing is the door frame and putting an eviction sticker on them.
Yeah, and they're like, I'm just following the rules.
Yeah.
And you know what? I'd be like this 72-year-old guy shooting drones out of the sky. Yeah. I think I'd answer that sticker on the door with a smack to the chops.
Yeah.
Anyway, maybe things will get better. I mean, maybe California will stop burning to the ground, especially if they open up water and let water be there. And people are mad at celebrities for having and hiring individual fire companies like their own private fire department to come out there. And you know what?
Yeah.
They should. I would. If I had the money and I knew that there was no water coming out of the taps, and maybe California hasn't done what they should have with all their fire abatement programs and things, and I had the money, I would most certainly do it.
And I'm not mad about that because at least every chance you are able to save a piece of property or land or whatever, it increases the chances of saving other nearby land.
Yeah.
Now, what I'm mad about is the attention that LA has gotten is tragic. They deserve attention because they have been destroyed. But The Guardian, believe it or not, the UK Guardian did a great article on how celebrities posting GoFundMes and getting attention and getting relief and getting donations, whereas Western North Carolina and Florida are still in various
Tennessee,
states.
Eastern Tennessee, parts of Virginia,
are in
4 months, going on 4 months.
Yeah, state of disrepair. And there's this one celebrity who tragically her brother or whatever, one of her relatives, lost their home. So she posted his GoFundMe for his stuff and was encouraging people who followed her, she's a celebrity, to donate. She's a millionaire.
Why don't she donate?
Exactly. And
why don't the insurance company
now, because she's famous, that GoFundMe got millions of views. Whereas, we have an entire 1 or 2 towns here in North Carolina where they post their GoFundMe or their recovery efforts, and they're lucky to get 20 clicks. And the Guardian article that I'm talking about went into this whole thing about how GoFundMe and fundraising like that is just an insular way to keep funds with people who are more visible. So, yeah. So it was just, that I am not mad about LA getting attention. They are hurting. I respect that. What I am mad about is who gets support.
Yeah. There's a documentary that's allegedly coming out that shows how awful the material condition of fire stations are and their equipment and everything in LA is. And I'm going to watch it because just seeing some of the clips because the video got taken down, just seeing some of the clips that the guy was talking about. And it's like, there's absolutely no reason for that there's no reason for a fire company crew that shows up to work the shift, their tour, whatever you want to call it. And they have to go sleep on the fire boat because their building is so full of mold that it makes them physically sick.
And that's a shame.
And, and some of them are like, I sleep in my car. I can't sleep. And it's like that. There is no reason for that.
No.
Especially for some, California's rich, right?
Yeah. That's the perception.
So
they should have
the money. They should have the funds. Yeah. Now, what happened here? There is no amount of preparation. There was nothing that anyone could have done. You can't stop a mountain sliding down on you. You just can't. There's nothing you can do. The only thing you can do is leave and that you can't even leave because you don't even know it's happening. Anyway, let's get to, we can go. Yeah. It's just aggravating. But anyway, Grandpa was ordered to pay $5,000 for shooting down drones, and I forgot we talked about it. But evidently there's some other things that have been uncovered with the drone thing. Let's just call it the drone situation, right? So evidently there's some files have been uncovered that reveal a secret operation at the center of the drone invasion, and it says, and why the White House can deny it. So this kind of goes into other things that are occurring. So with the drones getting the attention, just in general from Ukraine and everywhere else, there's a lot of countries playing catch up, trying to get drone technologies in place, trying to do things better because, if the next war is not some sort of EMP type thing, it takes everything, it will be drones because they're cheap. I mean, if people are like, we shouldn't use drones in warfare, and we had a previous president who was all about drones. So it's not like this is a new thing, but the idea is that there's been some government contracts that have been awarded to some high-tech companies for drone stuff, and they have to test these drones. And one of these places is in New Jersey, where, and this defense contract goes back to 2018, where they awarded $50 million, right? The private robotics company was awarded $50 million to develop craft capable of creating 3D maps of urban villages for a counter weapons of mass destruction program. Kind of makes sense considering there's people in New Jersey talking about what are these drones doing? They're just flying real slow. What are they doing? They're probably mapping. You interviewed our sister-in-law, basically, who's seen a big giant drone flying around doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Or what could be doing the same thing. It's not really sure you can't really tell what they're doing. They're just there, right?
Yeah.
There's documents in the FAA, Federal Aviation Administration, that basically have issued like air restriction alerts, prohibiting flights over certain areas for special security reasons, right? The White House has claimed that the drone sightings, which began right around November 18th, are not a foreign adversary and they pose no threat and are not part of the U.S. military program.
Okay.
So some of these government contracts have been awarded to companies like Lockheed Martin and some others. They're testing. Some of them have won their contracts and now they have to do the testing. So I think a lot of what we're actually seeing is exactly that, testing the equipment. And they've been testing it for a while.
Yeah.
So they don't really specify what the nature of testing is for some of these things. And they say, the idea is that it's more likely that they're testing payloads related to reconnaissance. And those payloads would be, different camera setups, different equipment setups to be able to map these areas. So there's a founder, Matt Sloan, who's basically owns a drone consulting firm called AI Skyfire. He said the sightings could be a contractor developing these drones for the DoD. Well, okay, yeah.
Okay.
So when they add these restrictions and they're adding and doing testing, because what better place to test if you're going to map an urban place than the place where you are? And since that one particular drone company is in New Jersey and they're actually doing that, mapping evidently to sort of test, that kind of makes sense. That explains a large number of drone sightings that's been happening over New Jersey. Yeah. Excuse me. And I wouldn't be surprised if that particular area has gotten expanded to other places like Ohio and Pennsylvania, relatively close. So that makes sense for a lot of the various drone sightings over New Jersey. And there are military bases in New Jersey.
Yeah.
I've been to a couple. I don't want to say too much about that, but anyway. So when I seen that sort of thing, I'm like, okay, this makes sense. And I can't find a link anymore. I had a link that basically broke down what a lot of these military contractors and private drone companies, the contracts that they've been awarded, where they've been awarded the money, now they have to prove their concept.
Okay.
Because they start out with the concept and then they say, these are the things that we can give you if we had the money. And so now the government's like, well, now you've had the time you asked for and you've gotten the money. Now you need to show us the things that you promised. And so a lot of these companies they're having to do the testing and they're going through the trials to make sure everything works. And it was 2 years ago where we talked about some drone programs like Australia doing the Able Wingman, where you have a jet or some sort of aircraft act as a mothership and control other drones that go fly along with it. So you've got the mothership and you've got the other tiny little drones doing the job too. Yeah. Area 51. There's supposed to be footage of jets dropping off drones to have them do missions. And then they fly and they land and here come the drones going back to the home base. So this has been around for a while and it's been around long enough, I think, for the public to start to see. Like it's going to become more public.
Yeah.
Like eventually, people started seeing stealth aircraft. They'd been around for a long time, 10, 20 years, sometimes even 30 years in development. Now they just start showing up. So I think that's kind of what's happening. We talked about that too. Sooner or later, a lot of this new technology is going to be coming out and we're going to see it. And it's not quite so much new. It's just that now it's physically available for the public to actually check it out.
Yeah.
But some of the contracts were pretty good because they were talking about alternative propulsions.
Cool.
Like using plasma and things like that to fly. And I think that's where we're starting to see some of that technology as well, because there was contracts for that. And I know we talked about the United States Navy filing patents for alternative propulsion techniques and technologies. Mm-hmm. That's a real thing. That's just, so what's to say you file the patent for it because you're going to make it a proof of concept and then you're going to make it real? I wouldn't be surprised if it comes out, one of these things decides to crash somewhere and you're like, how is this thing flying? There's no combustion. There's no electric motor. How is it flying?
Yeah.
I think if that does happen, you'll see the military there with the quickness. And it may have already happened where a drone crashed in New Jersey in a parking lot, like a mall parking lot. And they were there quick. So I don't want to go into too much great and agonizing detail with this stuff because if it is what it is, it's kind of boring, right?
Yeah.
Like, the Air Force has awarded a contract for the drone wingman's AI brains, but keeps the details a secret.
Okay.
Yeah. So the Air Force recently awarded contracts to 5 vendors for autonomy software, so these things can fly on their own and think for themselves. And it's going to control the future drone wingman or wingman. And so the details are pretty nobody knows what the details actually are, but it's the first collaborative combat aircraft autonomy contract. It's basically a mix of traditional and non-traditional defense companies.
Yeah.
Which means you got the smaller companies, and then you also got like Lockheed Martin and all those guys. And they're supposed to kind of work together. So they've been all sort of getting together at a roundtable discussion at the Life Cycle Industry Days conference. And those vendors are going to face a contest similar to the drone makers that are currently battling to build the CCA aircraft, where they have to meet certain performance criteria.
Okay.
So part of these drone sightings and stuff that people are seeing is because of this. DoD's having contracts. There's lots of vendors trying to get out there and prove concept, win the contest to get the money. And then they're going to have a select process to figure out what knowledge that's been gained over time and how all that can be incorporated for fighters and other advanced aircrafts. You got like General Atomics. They won the first batch. And all these guys are developing prototypes. And they want a full sort of production decision in 2026. That's next year.
Yeah.
So they ain't messing around, man. They want this stuff to happen, which kind of makes sense. So it's kind of scary if you look at like DARPA, right? Mm-hmm. And they started doing an air combat evolution program a long time ago, and they were using like modified F-16s. And the AI, I guess at the time, was there, but is not there. And AI has grown so much just in the past 4 years that it won't be long before it's just all drones. They're doing most of this flying. Because you've got like that little company, General Atomics. They have to beat out like Boeing, Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman. So it's a thing, man. All this drone stuff is military.
Okay.
Now, out of that, I'm sure there's maybe, let's just say 5 to 10% that just don't know what it is. Doesn't meet any current criteria, because you'll see that too, where people will do like, well, according to what we currently know, it's like, okay, well, if you don't know what's out there and what technologies are being tested, then yeah, it makes sense. I mean, if you think about it, you were flying around in a little biplane and all of a sudden a jet goes whizzing by you at 500 miles an hour. You're not going to have any idea what that was.
Yeah. But I also think that what's in the news right now and what we all keep talking about, if you go back to whatever available sources you have, it's just so much speculation that it just turns me off. I'm just like, okay, well, nobody's giving me an answer. They're just giving me examples and explaining technology. Give me
proof.
Whether it's proof or confirmation, confirmation.
And yet here we are doing ghosts and Bigfoot stuff. And it's the same thing. You never find anything that's good.
Yeah, but that's ghost. That's almost par for the course for those things.
Sure.
This is the evening news. And I'm like, I don't know.
Well, here's something I thought was a little bit more interesting than what I've been currently seeing. So, this is a while ago. There's a sheriff in Florida, Palm Beach County.
Yeah.
Sheriff named Rick Bradshaw, and he has a slightly different test or idea about these drones. He says they're likely U.S. government stealth drones being tested. So you have drones that are not going to be stealthy, and they're going to do certain tasks. But then you also are going to have the drones that you want them to never know. You want stealth drones.
Okay.
We have stealth aircraft. Hold on. Sorry about that. You have stealth aircraft.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, SR-71, 72, Aurora, all that stuff. Alternative propulsions like pulse drive, like donuts on a string. It's like all this stuff. Why not have stealth drones? So he's like, these are not store-bought deals.
Yeah.
You don't buy these kinds of drones that are the size of this table at a local store. They're expensive. I know. We have some. So, they're not commercial deals. Yeah. This is a regular sheriff who lives in an area that has all sorts of like weird sightings. He doesn't believe it when it comes to, what they are and why isn't the government saying what they are? Yeah. He doesn't believe they're UFOs or aliens or anything like that. He's like, he just doesn't understand why the government just doesn't reveal the truth. It's like, why not just be honest and say, here's what we know? Because nobody's buying this. We don't know nobody.
Yeah.
Which makes sense. So he believes they're stealth drones and they're being tested in a certain pattern in the Northeast. And they're being launched near the ocean and then they fly to the places where they've been spotted. But he does say, it's curious that it's only at night. If they wanted to test them, they could test them during the daytime, and they obviously don't want anybody to see them up close. If it's because if a manned aircraft gets too close, then they turn the lights out. So I'll tell you this: if there was a large military-grade drone flying over Martin County, I would be beside myself if I couldn't figure it out. I would just be absolutely apoplectic.
Yeah.
If my community were subject to it. So he thinks that the government more likely knows what it is, and he says silence is really only adding to the speculation. Because the idea is that local law enforcement and stuff always seem to know something, right? You'd think that since they're out there and they're dealing with everything weird, that they would know or have an idea. Maybe they just couldn't tell you. So I don't know. I think this is just I think it is what it is. I think it's not really going to be a secret anymore. I don't know. Like old sheriff talking out. Hey, as far as why the government doesn't say, here they are, here's what we got, because you don't want to just, put down all your cards. You know what I mean? Let's keep that a secret as long as possible. We don't want other foreign nations to know what we have. I don't know. What do you think?
I don't know. Like I said, I'd get some confirmation.
Well, okay, let's look at this for confirmation. I know you're just riveted.
No,
so
I'm
pay
not.
Close attention. So here's some contracts for that occurred right around November 12th, 2024.
Okay.
These are ones that have been awarded. General Dynamics Information Technology in Falls Church, Virginia was awarded a whole bunch of money, $5,570 million. Indefinite delivery / indefinite quantity contract, which means that it's an open-ended kind of contract and they don't necessarily have to, do a bunch of different things.
In November.
Of this year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, this is current. This is like when they give out the money at the end of the year thing. This is a big deal. What does it say? The contract.
Okay, so that's one contract. You said there's more?
Yeah. Boeing was ordered $233,764,794. And this is a modification to a previously awarded contract for the Flight Test Telemetry Termination Production Requirements contract. What is that? Me neither. Don't know. So Navy got a contract, right? And this is the Kongsberg Defense and Aerospace out of Norway, and they're being awarded $960,776,576. That's a firm price for a multi-year contract for over-the-horizon weapon systems and canistered missiles, also known as the Naval Strike Missile. And that would bring the total of that contract up to like, is that $1 billion? $1,140,007. No, is that right? I can't even read numbers that tall.
Oh gosh.
Is that $1,140,776,576? That is what that is. That's $1 trillion, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would go a long way.
If you say it'd go a long way to feed everybody or whatever,
No.
In separate budgets.
In LA and North Carolina, and I know it's just that's why.
No, yeah, it would go a long way, but everybody seems to forget that we're talking about a wallet that has multiple pockets, just like when you pay bills.
Yeah.
You pay some to your rent, you pay some to that. So keep the defense budget where it is because we kind of need it. And let's maybe allocate some things to taking care of our own people. Like maybe let's stop sending other countries, trillions of dollars to fight their own wars. Let's just take care of it. Let's do that. But I still want us to be the biggest and best on the block when it comes to technology and being defensive. Know what I mean? Mm-hmm. BAE Systems has got a big contract for indefinite delivery, indefinite quantity contract for the Naval Air Warfare Center. And it's basically with their engineering, logistics, integration, and installation support for command, control, communications, computers, and intelligence systems for unmanned aircraft systems. Bell and Boeing together have a joint contract doing an Osprey retrofit. So the money is being spent, and I think that the drone technology is in the point where you've got money now, let's start to prove some things. At least to the government. But there is a ton of these. And those are just the big ones. That's not even counting the smaller companies that are out there. Mm-hmm. So I think if you got an enemy drone whizzing over your house, I want to see another one of our American. I want to see a drone with an American flag just blowing that thing out of the sky, so we can go whoo like that. Because drone footage, it's pretty scary, man. Couldn't even imagine. You got to be on top of it. What do you think?
Sure.
Oh, that's great. All right. Since you don't care about drones, let's talk about Charlotte, North Carolina had some sky booms.
Good. Thank you.
January. Why don't you go ahead and talk about that in great and agonizing detail? People are like, I heard booms in the sky, and that's going to be about the extent of it, but where are those booms coming from?
Yeah. So here's the thing. There was a video posted online, TikTok, and on X around January 11th-ish, January 10th-ish, leading all the way earlier to January 6th-ish in Charlotte, North Carolina. Allegedly, depending on what video you find, there has been over 100 sky sound explosions occurring within the Charlotte area of North Carolina.
Yes.
Now, the video that we have...
Charlotte's about 80 miles away from us.
The video we have in the podcast notes shows examples of it, and you can listen to it. The guy's saying that the police have no clue, and the particular back date for this video is January 10th. Now, the problem is, outside of X and Reels and TikTok, nobody else is reporting it. It's not on the
nobody's
news.
saying anything.
Now, what is on the news is, oddly enough, two different people in Charlotte, North Carolina have had their sky roofs in their vehicles explode.
Sky roofs?
What do you call it? Sunroofs?
Sunroof.
Yeah. Well,
sunroof / moonroof.
Yeah, one lady, since it's an infinity, it's called something special. Whatever.
Well, yours and your Trailblazer is called sunroof, moonroof.
Yeah. But, and when you try to search for these sky sounds, it's not giving you anything other than going to TikTok or even YouTube. There's been nothing in the news about it, but these people are reporting these sky sounds, not just in Charlotte, But west of Asheville, now there are some reports in Chimney Rock, but I'm going to chalk those up to the amount of explosives needed to clean up Chimney Rock, North Carolina. But what makes me sad is the sky booms that were happening 2016 to 2018. I kind of miss that. Where like
you mean the good old days?
Yeah, like where how like all over the world everybody was having sky booms.
Well, yeah. A lot of the sky booms that occurred, no answer, right? Nobody knows what it is. But there's always been the idea that it's some sort of stealth or government aircraft.
Yeah.
And then what you're actually hearing, these booms are actually subsonic or even supersonic booms. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so by doing a little bit more research, I found out that there is a North Carolina-based company now. And I found an article in the News and Observer that says, NC-bound boom supersonic attracts more famous investors, albeit at a lower valuation.
Yeah.
And it's a Colorado startup company, and they're committed to build and test supersonic passenger jets in North America. So if they've already built one or a couple, and they're trying to raise money, and they're going to be based out of North Carolina, wouldn't you fly your supersonic jet there? Because the Concorde's gone.
Yeah.
And depending on how you fly those things, they create supersonic booms.
Yeah.
So if they're like showing off or hot dogging or testing out, I can totally see that blowing out people's windows and stuff. Because the idea is that you fly it in a way where you don't create these subsonic or supersonic booms. Well, we grew up in right around Virginia Beach, Virginia. We have jet base, Oceana's there, military. It is all military.
Yeah.
And all those jets can do supersonic booms.
I used to.
And every year somebody would get in trouble.
Yeah.
On the Navy base for blowing out people's windows in a small like neighborhoods around the base that weren't supposed to be built there in the first place. But the Mayor Myra Obendorf, decided she wanted to build them anyway, and then built like a large, heavily populated area right at the end of Oceana, where if a plane misses, it can take out an entire neighborhood. So that's why we had a whole bunch of jets and stuff that when they were malfunctioning, instead of trying to land in an emergency situation, they would just go off the beach and just ditch in the ocean.
Or like I lived in Strawbridge, which is right outside of Oceana in Virginia Beach. And we had like, it was funny, the houses that were already built, the windows would rattle. But if somebody was building a new house and something supersonic or whatever happened, the windows in the houses that were being built were getting shattered. Yeah. Because the house wasn't fully constructed yet and what have you. So, it would be really frustrating because they'd be like, oh, we're trying to build 10 more new houses in this particular neighborhood. And like they'd have to replace the windows in like 8 of them.
Yeah. And then the people would complain.
Probably maybe less than a decade later, I had a friend living in one of the townhouse neighborhoods just outside Oceana. And he had a jet pretty much crash land in the field right next to his townhouses and some condos out there. And
none of them were supposed to be there or be built ever. And that was part of the contract. And basically when they were looking at the closures to close military bases at one time, Oceana was on the chopping block because they're like, hey, we're going to close this base because our entire crash area is like heavily populated. So it was a big thing. So I think that some of these booms that we're hearing are probably from this boom supersonic flying back and forth and trying to drum up money and doing all that.
The one thing I don't see on here is like what time of night these sky sounds were happening. I'm assuming it's late at night, and that would make sense because if you're testing stuff here in, rural or mountainous North Carolina, test during the off hours,
Then nobody can see you.
Yeah, as opposed to like...
Imagine seeing like this weird looking, it wouldn't even be a weird looking jet, like a passenger jet come cruising through and all of a sudden you hear all the booms. What are you going to do? I'm pretty sure that plane was making those booms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we had big booms happening yesterday in Old Fort, North Carolina, and it wasn't jets or anything like that. It was just they're trying to fix one of the bridges.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I didn't realize, even though how far that bridge is away, I would hear that,
Yeah, but I think the explosions on the ground it has to be a really huge explosion to blow out windows.
Yeah.
Compared to a supersonic boom, it's a little bit different.
We did have rattling. Nobody's windows got lost.
And I've been out in the middle of the ocean where you have jets go flying by really fast and do the whole subsonic or supersonic boom, where you see the jet, you're like, woo, and then here comes the boom behind it, and you're not ready for it. Mm-hmm. It's like the best jump scare ever, man.
Now it's
super loud too.
This link that you provided with the TikTok video on X, I just scrolled down maybe three tweets, and there's somebody else saying, I'm hearing the sky sounds in northern Georgia as well. Many people heard them last night a little bit after midnight. And then they screenshotted something from Wikipedia. Unexplained natural phenomenon. Skyquakes or Seneca guns. I've never heard it called Seneca guns.
Yeah, I don't think that's the case with these. I think these are subsonic or actually supersonic booms.
Yeah.
From aircraft. Because if you think about the area where we're all located, northern Georgia, all that stuff, where we all sort of come together in the mountains.
Yeah.
A lot of the booms that you would hear would be, if it was ground-based, or would be blocked by mountains.
Yeah.
If they're above, the boom happens and it gets everybody.
The booms from above, because right below this, there's people doing the screenshots of it's a conspiracy and the explosions are for your lithium mines because they're seizing your lithium mines. And since that corridor is either 226 or NC 80, because you're getting up to the Spruce Pine and Burnsville and all that area, that corridor is in a valley, so it's a very concentrated sound for our lithium mines and our
I don't know,
crystal
man.
mines.
If that stuff catches on fire, it has a tendency to want to stay on fire.
That's true.
So who knows? But I think the booms can be explained more of what's the Occam's razor, right? The most likely explanation. How does that go?
Yeah.
The most likely explanation is the explanation. But it's kind of cool, I guess, if they're going to bring, because I always like the idea of the Concorde. You could be in Europe in 3 hours and 45 minutes from New York.
Yeah.
Because it's just, that's a boring flight. Never taken a trip on the Concorde. I did a slow boat across. Actually, it wasn't even really that slow. Anyway, let's just say we got called to go somewhere in the Middle East to do some things on the ship. And they were like, They give you a limiter. They're like, hey, you guys, we really don't want you to go this fast because then you'll have to refuel more, and refueling a destroyer is a lot of money. But this time they were like, as fast as you can go. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And that destroyer was very fast, and you could feel it. We rolled out, man, and it was just like, you felt like you were just, imagine going as fast as you could, like on a train, going 120 miles an hour for 3-4 days straight. That's how it was. We rolled out.
Yeah.
We got there really quick, comparatively speaking. So, and the unfortunate side effect of that is that since we were going across, you go through different time zones. So you'd have a watch that'd be say 4 hours long, but since you're going one way, now your watch became 5 hours long.
Yeah.
And then 6 hours long. And I had one watch that's supposed to be 4 hours, and it turned into 7 hours. Because we were just blasting through the time zones. So, because you're going to bed at, 10, and the time kept going backwards. So it's like, you went to bed at 10, you had a watch at 6 o'clock in the morning, but it kept going from 10 to 9, 10 to 9. And it's just like, this sucks. It was a really long watch.
Yeah.
And they didn't let us sleep in. They didn't care at all. They were all refreshed. I slept great. I bet you did, having 10 hours rack time. We're up there just suffering. Also made us really hungry because,
Sorry.
Yeah. But that's why you can't always be prepared. You went to the little ship store and you bought little cans of Beanie Weenies and stuff. Kept in your little coat pocket so you can crack the lid. Vienna sausages, Beanie Weenies. And people are like, those are disgusting. Those are delicious when you haven't eaten in a long time.
Yeah.
So I think that Boom Supersonic, which is basically going to be building these supersonic jets out of North Carolina, it's going to be the cause for a lot more continuous sky booms. You also did not touch on the one theory that we've had for a long time, is that they're continually building deep underground military bases and expanding those.
Hmm.
Where are they doing that?
I don't know.
It It kind of coincides with some of the weird earthquake activity we had.
Yeah.
It sort of picked up once funding got released to rejuvenate a lot of these deep underground military bases. Some of those were closed because of the BRAC Commission. Now they've been reactivated, and we got lots of extra earthquake activity, and we got some more sky booms, all in Linville area and other places.
Which is funny because
and into Georgia as well.
We have these sky reports from, yes, that lady said Georgia, but we're getting them from Charlotte, and then we are getting them from like Arden, North Carolina, which is understandable because there's a lot of stuff right there. But we're not getting them in like some of the places that correlate with some of the theories, like, directly from the Linville Gorge, or where's the other place? Just Lake Lure, those places.
Yeah. Well, then that would make sense that they're actually either expanding or have built or are building another deep underground military installation. And maybe some of the booms we're hearing is creating a network to connect them.
Okay.
Like a new tunnel system or something like that. I mean, we looked at it the other day because we thought we had an earthquake here.
Yeah.
There's like 5 in the past month. I don't know. Now, here's something that's pretty cool.
Okay.
Germany has approved military action when they start seeing these mysterious orb drones. Like, see them, shoot them out of the sky.
Okay.
And I think since Germany's doing it, it tells me that Germany doesn't know what they are, but they know it's not theirs.
Yeah.
Now, we have had all of these drone sightings and stuff, right? And we're not shooting none of them out of the sky, except for that grandpa and some other dude in Ohio, right?
Yeah.
Which tells us, or tells me, government's not going to shoot down their own stuff. So we know what it is. We know what they're doing. They're probably testing and everything for defense contracts. And it's just like, hey, our country is so vast, and the people are so quick to see something and then move on and forget about it. They can just kind of do it.
Yeah.
You'd have to have a drone in broad daylight sit there and explode and cause all sorts of damage for people to pay attention. And at the end of the day, they're only going to pay attention for less than 15 minutes. Right? The whole 15 minutes of fame thing. It's just going to go away. So they're kind of like not too worried about it, I think. They can just get away with it. And they can just lie. Our media lies.
Yeah.
They even passed a law saying, hey, it's now okay for you guys to lie. Seriously. So they're just like, yeah, we can do it. And eventually one of them's going to get caught. These drones. Somebody's going to catch it. Try to sell it back on TV. You watch. It'll be a news article. Somebody be trying to sell it on eBay or something like that. And the government's going to come show up and threaten them. And I hope that if somebody does catch one, that, because how could it be stolen property if it doesn't exist, right?
Yeah.
Like, hey, you're right. It looks like this may be your drone, and it can be yours for $15 million. And they go, well, we're just going to take it. You're like, too late.
Yeah.
I'm going on TikTok. I'm telling everybody and the news. I'm going to go on the UK news first. I don't think they'd be scared at all if you said you're going to release something to the local, to the US media.
Yeah.
I think if you start putting it out for the rest of the world, that's a totally different thing. That way you'd be guaranteed to be locked into the deepest, darkest prison we have for spy people. It probably won't be Gitmo. Guantanamo Bay. Yep. Fun fact, I lived there for a while. Not in the prison, but, as a regular person when I was a little kid. Yep. Some of my first memories were the trade winds blowing hot wind on you and fighting a cat under a coconut tree.
Okay.
He was a mean-ass cat, for real. All right, so we can do a couple different things. We can talk about ultrasound, infrasound, and the paranormal, which you've actually touched on before, or we can just skip it.
That's up to you.
Nope. I'm leaving it on you.
Oh.
Let's just touch on it slightly.
Okay.
This is maybe important for you to know. Ultrasound waves have a frequency higher than 20,000 hertz, which is at the upper limit for human hearing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You can get an ultrasound at the hospital, right? It's not a big deal. Doctor's office and stuff like that. Microphones, including those in smartphones and digital audio recorders, are designed specifically to pick up that frequency range, which roughly matches the range of the human ear. Humans can hear sounds between 20 and 20,000 hertz, but most microphones aren't quite as sensitive, and they fall between 50 and 18,000 kilohertz, right?
Yeah.
Some very expensive specialist microphones are able to pick up audio outside of this range, but you wouldn't be able to find this sort of microphone in any consumer device. So this means if you're using a digital audio recorder and you're trying to capture EVPs, right, then you know that the device isn't going to pick up any sounds that you can't hear with your own ears.
Yeah.
It makes sense. It's logical. So if a device did capture something outside of your ear's frequency range, you wouldn't be able to hear it when you play it back. So if there's an EVP audio recording that you have, then you know it has to be created in one of two ways. The sound was audible, which meaning that the sound actually occurred because you could physically hear it or record it, or the sound was not audible at the time, but made its way into the recording via a form of electrical interference, which affects the device's circuitry or storage medium. So, if the device is used during paranormal investigations to obtain a baseline reading of ultrasound at the location, it also means that capturing EVPs at a higher frequency than we could normally hear or capture using a recording device. So what they're trying to say is, and this is an argument I've had in the past, garbage in, garbage out.
Yep.
If your device doesn't have the ability to record in that range, you're not going to hear it. And if you do think it's there, or it does have a slightly more expanded capability to record stuff like that, it's just going to show up as interference. So wouldn't you want the best audio recording you could get?
Yes.
Or do you want to buy a garbage recorder, play some weird staticky garbage to us and say, that's an EVP? That's trash, bro.
Yeah.
I'm kind of like, I want to hear, like, for example, we watched that show last night. Mm-hmm. And clear as day, you heard somebody go, hey, Paul.
Yeah.
I think his name is
Or
Paul.
Phil.
Phil, that's what it was. Hey, Phil. And Phil answered.
Yeah.
And the cameraman was there, and they went looking to go for it, right? Well, the person's voice that they heard,
Yeah.
and I could tell it was that chick's voice, because I can't remember her name either, right?
Yeah.
They went to go find her, and she was not there, and she was not capable of making that response because she was in another building underground.
Yeah.
And the show, I think, doesn't even realize how important that was. Because if I had it happen to me and I was a skeptic, I would really have to consider everything.
Yes.
And they were the only ones there. And this is a high production television show, and they paid a lot of money to make sure they had that place to themselves.
Yeah.
You're not going to get that with a little Panasonic recorder from the 80s. This is a piece of shit then, and it's a piece of shit now.
Or something, some beat up Radio Shack generic that you got off eBay.
Yeah, some analog crap that you can tweak with a screwdriver.
And see, but then I get into arguments with people who feel that the lower quality and side effects or consequences of using those, which is static, feedback, weird stuff, is what creates the paranormal. The paranormal relies on that static to generate the evidence.
Yeah.
And
so I'm like, well, how do you get energy for interference?
Yeah. So,
I'm like,
yeah.
Okay. I still think garbage in, garbage out.
Yeah.
Because we've caught EVPs that you hear them and they sound kind of good.
Yeah.
Because we're using good stuff. So I kind of want to put that in there because of that. It's like, here we go again. Because I like how they lay it out logically in this little article. And then they're like, however, if it's recording outside of the range, it's going to show up as interference. It's like, really now?
Yeah.
Now, infrasound is the thing that you can't hear. And it has more of an effect, I think, because it is, anyway. You can use sound to affect things. Ships hunt submarines with sound, right?
Yeah.
That's an echolocation. All of that stuff, there is a physical effect, depending on the frequency range, on whatever's happening, whatever's occurring. So when that transmission happens, it has a physical effect on what it hits. Mm-hmm. And then it returns back to the sender. So transmit and receive. You don't transmit anything with a speaker.
No.
That's just creating noise. A transducer actually creates that sound. and it's just not replaying it. So in that, you can get a bigger or better effect. So infrasound is very, very low frequency, and it's between 0.1 to 20 hertz, and it's way below the range of human hearing.
Yeah.
And they say is the cause of mistaken reports of paranormal activity, because these low frequency vibrations have been known to cause people to report discomfort in form of disorientation, panicky feeling, high anxiety, increased heart rate, and blood pressure. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, lions do it, tigers do it, Bigfoots do it, birds do it, bats do it, bugs, some bugs do it. Dolphins can do it. Whales can do it. It's a thing. So, but in order to be able to tell that you actually are being attacked infrasonically, is you'd have to have serious equipment to be able to record that sort of thing. Yeah. I mean, serious that you could probably buy it on Amazon, but who knows what you're actually going to get. It's like buying a Geiger counter off Amazon for $50. Is it going to be accurate? Do you want to put your life in? If you're in a situation, maybe it's good enough to go, hey, yeah, there's something's here, but how accurate is it?
Yeah.
For stuff like that, you kind of got to pay. So you need specialist audio equipment to detect infrasound. It can be hard, to sort of incorporate that in your investigation, if you're doing one, or to eliminate it as a cause of something, like the way you feel, Now, there is infrasound that occurs because it's being generated through oscillation. Oscillation and vibration are really similar. You can have something that sort of vibrates at a certain frequency that can cause that infrasound. Wind turbine blades, fans, things like that. Lube oil sump pump. So, now, in 2003, they did an experiment using infrasound. It was carried out in London, and infrasound was played during a concert in the Purcell Room. Afterwards, the audience were interviewed, and their responses were analyzed by psychologists. On average, infrasound boosted the number of strange experiences by around 22% and caused concert goers to report feelings of sorrow, coldness, and anxiety.
Yeah.
There you go. So you can incorporate that. I like that when you get into sort of the idea of influencing things, like what do you call that? Subliminal.
Yeah.
Advertising, do that with sound too. And then everybody's heard of the brown note, where if you broadcast or transmit at a certain frequency, it can make you shit your pants. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Riot control uses sound. So there you go. If you're out there and you're thinking that you've been infrasonically attacked, it's going to be really hard to prove. Just saying. And I don't even know how you'd measure it correctly. I mean, using EMI as a reference, using a little ghost meter. But I don't know. That's just something. It's like, oh, here we go again, right?
Yeah.
So I think if you're going to try to record EVPs, you probably should get the best quality. At least that way, if you catch something, then you actually caught something. And then you can fight it out with your people going, this is what I heard. You're like, that doesn't sound anything like that.
Yeah.
Like I'm cold could be I'm old. Yeah, who knows, right? So I did want to kind of put this in here. We went to the Grand Canyon and had a good time. And we actually went to where the Hopi House is.
Yeah.
And we didn't go in there because we were on a mission, but I remember thinking it was pretty sketchy.
And it was closed for renovation.
Oh, yeah. Well, maybe that's part of it.
Part of it was closed for renovation. They had it open, but only on specific days and only for a couple of hours. So we couldn't even go in.
To the Hopi House.
Yeah, and it was, they had an exhibit. So we were hoping we'd see the exhibit, too, inside the Hopi House. But us and probably like 100 people were like, well, guess we can't go in there because it's only open during certain times and it's being renovated. Now, allegedly, though, this Hopi House has...
Hold on. Yeah. Did I get that book? There was a book that talked about all the haunted places and stuff around the Grand Canyon.
Yes.
Did I actually get that book?
I thought you did, and it's...
Do we know where it is?
Here. What I didn't get, and I'm kicking myself over, is one of the special T-shirts that they had. They had a limited run of T-shirts showing some of the different petroglyphs.
Why didn't you get that?
Because I got a different T-shirt, And I should have just got all the T-shirts. So,
Well, I will take you back, and you can get whatever T-shirt you want.
yeah.
If you want.
Yeah.
Or we go somewhere else. We just got to plan it out.
I just want to go to that crater in Arizona.
The one we didn't go to?
Yeah.
I asked you for 40 minutes. I'm like, are you sure you want to eat?
I know.
And you were like, no.
Well, because I was really hoping we'd meet up with our friends. So, yeah.
Well, we did.
Yeah. But this Hopi house, I haven't been in it. It's allegedly haunted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's an article I read. It's the haunting of the Brown Boys at the Hopi house. So I kind of put it in there because
it's already a haunting presence because you have this Adobe style structure basically sitting right there on the edge of the Grand Canyon.
It's pretty old.
Yeah, and it built in 1904. It was designed by this architect, Mary Coulter, and it was supposed to resemble a traditional Hopi pueblo, and it was inspired by Hopi buildings in Arizona. Now, its purpose was to showcase and sell some of the arts and crafts of the local Hopi, but over the years, Hopi House has continued to serve as a gift shop and a living museum, attracting countless visitors when it's open with its unique charm and rich cultural heritage. What wasn't planned, however, was that the haunted rumors about the ghost of the Brown Boys said to linger around the house. Now,
that was just their name.
Yeah.
The Brown Boys.
Yeah. So the legend of the Brown Boys, this article goes into a discussion of the Hopi who were primarily, in this region. The Hopi's ancestors date back to the Puebloan culture, including ancestral Puebloans. It talks a little bit about the Kachinas. Well, then it goes into this legend. Now, the legend of the Brown Boys, I don't know how I feel. Anyway, okay. So while the Hopi house is renowned for its architectural beauty and cultural significance, although not built by the Hopi themselves, it is famous for its ghostly inhabitants known as the Brown Boys. These two spirits are often seen and felt within the walls of the historic structure. The Brown Boys are said to be mischievous spirits, making their presence known by causing disturbances and playing tricks on those who enter. Who they don't know, and like the authentic Hopi art in the reconstructed house, they remain, as the artist, nameless. Could someone from the Hopi that perhaps worked or lived around the area? Could it be some kids or tourists that only passed through once through the canyon? There's no answers as to who these Brown Boys are.
Yeah.
And I do think it's interesting because, yes, Brown Boys has a weird connotation, but we also have descriptions of little people in the Southwest.
Yes.
And the little people are described as like a dark earthen brown. So that's interesting. Now, the activity around the Hopi house, witnesses have reported seeing the spirits running around the structure during the evening hours. Electrical items are mysteriously turned off and on. Objects are thrown about seemingly of their own accord. Some mornings, employees have claimed to have found the dolls that they sell rearranged inside. These disturbances have led many to believe that the Brown Boys are perhaps some type of poltergeist. Now, what I'll say is the report...
See, it sounds more like little people
Yeah.
than poltergeists.
Now, one observation I will have is we did get there late in the afternoon, and the later in the day and the way the sun is angled at the Hopi house, there are large birds in the area, and when the large birds fly around, that motion, like if they fly around the Hopi house, leads a very interesting shadow on the ground or on the Pueblo walls. So that could be an explanation of the running around, because the way the shadow is cast that high up and at those angles does look really weird.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So yeah, this everything we talk about in the podcast is available on our website. You can kind of click on the links and look. This is from moonmausoleum.com. And if you look at the article, which we link to, down at the bottom, you've got different references where signs of paranormal activity in the National Grand Canyon ghosts. Are you ready to go ghost hunting, and Hopi House on Wikipedia. So if you're planning on going out to the Grand Canyon anytime soon and you want to go,
Yeah.
or if you're looking for some spooky stuff, or if you're camping on the other side of the Grand Canyon because you don't want to spend all that money and you just want to go to visit or something, you can probably do that too.
Yeah.
But we try to save things and stuff so when we go traveling, we can go to some places. You're like, what's in the area? But I thought it was kind of neat. But, the Brown Boy thing, the Brown Boys, they don't really have any descriptions or anything. So it's like, what?
Yeah.
It's just, but some of the stuff that, like cold spots and moving stuff around, it's like, who knows? It is a reconstructed house, so it's not like it's.
And they have like prairie dogs and squirrels specifically that live on the edges of the cliffs. And we saw that squirrel run straight up past us and run straight into the Hopi house.
Yeah, they don't
through
care.
a crack in the wall.
They don't care.
So,
none of the animals around there care because there's so many people there and you're not allowed to do anything to them.
Yeah.
They have no fear.
Yeah.
Like the deer in the park, those big old, we had to stop and let them cross the road. They don't care at all. They're just like.
Or the birds that land on
acclimated.
people that are right at the rim. And I'm just sitting there terrified. Like that bird scared that dude so bad he almost fell.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
If you try hard enough, you can punch a bird. I'm just saying. Like hitting a pillow, right? That's why people are so scared of goose. It's like it's a pillow, bro. I don't know. Okay, so I thought we'd kind of put a couple different things in here before we get ready to wrap it up. I do want to go see if we ever get a chance and we're ever in the Gulf Coast. Morris, the Gulfport Casino ghost cat.
Oh, that is such a creepy sculpture.
Yeah, that's why I put it in here. It's like I can't talk. In memory of Morris the casino cat.
Okay.
Yeah. His ashes remain here by his mansion by the sea. It's just this weird cement creepy sort of statue. It's this thing.
Oh.
And this person calls himself a paranormalist.
Okay.
I've never said this to anybody. What do? I'm a paranormalist. It's like, oh.
So, but the story of Morris dates back to the 1970s when the employees at a casino saw a little yellow cat approach. They took him in. His color and gregarious personality echoed a famous feline from TV commercials at the time, and that was Morris the cat.
Morris the cat.
So this Morris became the ambassador of the casino for over 15 years, winning many fans from tourists and residents alike. Now, upon his death, a memorial was erected in his honor, and it was at this time that the rumors started. Some felt mysterious localized breezes when near the sculpture, and others claimed to have seen him walking around the property at night. And no offense, it's a wharf, it's like a ship area, it's where casinos, boat casino, that type of stuff.
Yeah, you get some errant breezes.
It's Gulfport. I mean, it's stray cats. I'm sorry. But,
He used the famous feline.
I know.
Morris the cat. And when I was growing up, if you had a cat that looked like Morris, that was something.
Yeah. So
I think he did meow mix. I can't remember.
So, but this paranormalist, their opinion of the verdict on the ghost cat is that it is a remarkable example of a localized urban legend. So, because he was so beloved in the area, they've held on to this story. Now, Gulfport has a few other ghost cat stories in the general area of the memorial, and there are a few other places who have living feline mascots. These stories emerged over the years to create Gulfport Casino Ghost Cat.
Who cares? We're done with that. This is the most important part of the whole thing. Mm-hmm. This person, right? Mm-hmm. I think her name is Kathy Solstry. Mm-hmm. Solstry. She kind of ends off the first paragraph, which made me throw it in here. And I host a podcast called Paranormal Pets on PetLifeRadio.com. Now on its 131st episode.
Great.
And with that being said, it's been an amazing journey. Now.
Yeah.
You're supposed to ask me, did you go and check out?
Did you go?
I did not.
Yes.
But I'm probably going to.
Okay.
Because Pet Life Radio seems kind of interesting. So.
Oh, wow.
I'm afraid to go look. Don't ruin it for me. I have a vision in my mind of what this podcast looks like and what's going on. A lot of bright colors and just general weirdness, I'm thinking. Don't tell me. I'll look later.
You will be surprised then.
Which way? Good way? Bad way? You can't just see surprises. I mean, there's things involved with being surprised. I've been shocked. I've been pleasantly surprised.
Imagine 2013 YouTube network.
Oh, great. Well, anyway, this guy, Morris, he was the ambassador for the casino for 15 years. And obviously they're not capitalizing too much on him because the picture of him like being on the statue, look, that whole thing needs some work done.
It needs to be repainted.
Yeah, no, it needs more than that. It's cement.
True.
So it needs to have some of the cement action filled in. So, well, you know, that's kind of how the Gulfport is. Gulf, you know, you got down around St. Pete's and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's got a lot of dens. It's kind of weird. Also, they founded the Spirits of St. Petersburg.
Oh.
Which is the longest running paranormal team in the Tampa Bay area.
Okay.
So, and she wrote a book. But if you're interested in paranormal pets, maybe check out PetLifeRadio.com. So, which I'll probably check out when we get done with this podcast. So,
I'm sorry, I can't.
You can't do it. You can't muster it up. See, if this was a couple years ago, you'd be stupid excited.
Well, okay, so
oh my god!
So I went to Pet Life Radio first.
Oh, so you ruined it for yourself.
Yeah. Now I'm on Pet Life Radio, and this does look very interesting.
It's like when we were going to Grand Canyon. I was so terrified.
Why?
For you.
Why?
Because you were like, it's going to be. You know, you just had. Everybody has their own idea of how majestic and stuff the Grand Canyon is. And I was afraid it wouldn't live up to your expectation.
The only thing that didn't live up to my expectation is that we should have spent longer there, and that's our own faults. And I wanted to get out and walk certain spots. So that's my thing.
You're like, let's go down the canyon. And it's like, do you have any idea how far all that is? Even you being super hiker, it's serious business. You're best to go down there and camp for a couple of days. Then you're already like, let's cruise on down. Because, man...
Oh, so that's the one thing I wanted to bring up. So you had this article link in the show notes for the podcast. So I went on Facebook because I get updates on the Grand Canyon. And in the past few weeks, they've had a lot of weird announcements, mostly due to weather.
Yeah.
You know, so yesterday they had to close Hermit Road and Desert View Drive. They had to close part of the Grand Canyon Village roads because of the winter storm.
Are you going to tell people your theory?
Hold on. And then again, a few days ago, they had to close certain roads. Again, roads. A missing persons report. And then, where is it at? Oh, yeah. Wait, that's not it. Update. Thursday, January 16th at 1 p.m., all inner canyon corridor trails are now open to the public. There was a chlorine gas leak that has been stabilized, and crews remain on scene to complete the repairs. See,
because remember, we had talked about this.
Yeah. They also
remember with Close Encounters, the third kind, it was a chlorine gas leak that they had to close it all off because the aliens were coming.
And the day before that gas leak, they had a complete water shutoff notice for an area as well.
So, I mean, what better way to keep tourists away? There's no water and there's a chlorine gas leak. You guys sure you want to come down here? I'm like, nope.
Yeah.
Canary in the coal mine kind of thing. And the next thing you know, aliens are coming.
But yeah, it was like, you know, we were mentioning the ghosts, and then the next thing I'm looking at, it looks like, wow, Grand Canyon hasn't been it's got some stuff going on. It's going through it just like us. I
think the Grand Canyon has its own mystery and stuff too, with the whole idea of like Egyptians were there first, and there's all sorts of areas in the Grand Canyon where you can't go, and if you do, the government shows up and only government helicopters fly in and out. Lost civilization type stuff.
And then that whole, you know, Egyptian theory. Recently, I get Marble Canyon is in that Egyptian theory, right? Yeah. Which is now a part of Grand Canyon National Park. It once stood on its own as its own national monument. So, and that was in 1969. Lyndon B. Johnson designated Marble Canyon as a national monument. So, yeah, it has a bunch of threatened and endangered species, has the 12,000-year-old remains of the extinct Harrington mountain goat. And then I guess in the 70s, Marble Canyon became a part of Grand Canyon.
Well, allegedly there's areas that has entire civilization hidden inside.
Yeah, Marble Canyon's one of those places because like the first picture is like one of those Puebloan culture little cliff dwelling areas. So yeah.
So speaking of cultural heritage sites that are endangered, they added a moon to it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So basically, the endangered cultural heritage sites, we used to go to one in New Mexico. They try to reserve and preserve everything that's happening at that cultural heritage site, right? Well, they're making this one, it's almost off limits. They don't really have to make it, too off limits. It's kind of hard to get to right now. But they're trying to preserve the moon.
Yeah.
And they've created a World Monument Fund, right? And so the World Monuments Fund existed, or it does exist, and they add things to it. So in the end of 2024, they sort of have created a new cultural watch list for places, and they added a moon to it.
Okay.
So the objects and places on the moon, like the Apollo 11 landing site, Trinity Base, they've been preserved in relatively stable conditions over decades, and they're going to keep it that way.
Okay.
So I thought that was kind of interesting because there's like 106 assorted artifacts from the first lunar landing, including Neil Armstrong's iconic boot print and bags of poop.
Gosh, yeah.
So, got the poop on the moon, right?
Yeah.
So I thought that was kind of cool. They had it there so maybe it can't be disturbed or won't be disturbed. So I'm like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. Another thing, as we get ready to wrap up the podcast, you remember, I think it was 2 years ago now, 2 years ago, or they said that the Loch Ness Monster was a giant eel because of DNA.
Yeah.
They found more eel DNA in the water than anything else. They just said, yep.
Yeah.
He's an eel.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, just because there's a bunch of DNA, it doesn't mean that that's what it is. I mean, it seemed pretty, I was not excited by the results.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like if you went around our front yard, you would say that, oh, everybody that lived there, according to DNA, is squirrels and birds.
Stray dogs.
Stray dogs. Right? It's like, okay.
And I say that because the way they evaluated the evidence, it was whichever poop was the most.
Yeah. It'd be also be like, okay, so you've seen a dark, furry looking shape run across the road, and you did DNA, which was at the time was the equivalent of touch DNA. And you're like, oh, well, you didn't see a bear.
Yeah.
What you've seen, because of preponderance of the evidence and the amount of DNA, a 6-foot squirrel that weighs 300 pounds, right?
Yeah.
A 5-foot dog that weighs 300 pounds, a 6-foot bird, or that kind of thing. Instead of being like, okay, well, the idea is that since there's more DNA of one particular thing over another, that's what it is.
Yeah.
That's the most likely explanation. No. So the geneticist who conducted the enlightening environmental DNA study of Loch Ness has proposed a sequel of sorts in the hopes of getting a better understanding of the creatures lurking there. In the late 2010s, Neil, I think his name is Jamel, and a team of researchers collected 250 water samples throughout the Loch and Loch Ness. Mm-hmm. And they basically said, okay, well, according to the array of creatures we have there, Loch Ness is the only possible suspect for the famed monster was an eel that had grown to gigantic proportions.
Yeah.
And so the idea that that's what it is tenuous. So anyway, but reflecting on the 2018 project to the bio company Illumia, the geneticist responded to critics that the study was too small by conceding that a sampling of a few hundred cubic liters of waters is not much in a lake which is estimated to have something like 10 million liters of water. So he did argue and say that the original survey, was a promising first step. So what I think happened is people are like, no, it's not an eel.
Yeah.
How dare you? You know, your research is crap. We don't like it. So they're going to redo it.
Yeah. Good.
Lochness 2.0.
Because that's the other thing. Like when they describe some of the processes, I'm like, this is some dude who walked up to the shoreline, grabbed a Ziploc bag, filled the Ziploc bag with water at an angle, because that's how you fill up water from a lake. And we all know certain types of...
And then tested it.
Yeah, certain types of aquatic life, their poop naturally floats, whereas others sink. Some poop like sits med level depending on the temperature of the water.
The old floaters and sinkers.
Yes.
Yeah, it seemed almost like the investigation that was done would be like how we would do it. Grab a coffee cup, put some water in, go, look what we got, guys. You know what I mean? Come on, we're not... Yeah. Which is what a lot of investigation does. I'm going to take, this looks like a big footprint, and you just do the best you can, right? Hope for the best.
This year for Bigfoot Festival, we should open a lemonade stand.
No, why?
Hand people a cup.
No. You know, you would think that'd be pretty easy, but there's a lot of stuff you got to go through to be able to get people lemonade.
I know.
You know, you can't just do it on the side of the road anymore. You got to have like licenses and go through, you know.
Food service.
So you don't give everybody like norovirus or some other poop-related virus, sickness.
Yeah.
Poop sickness, hand to mouth crap. So I don't know. So anyway, they're going to be redoing it, and they're going to basically do it better, and hopefully we'll get a better idea if Loch Ness exists or doesn't exist.
Okay.
And just because you have all the eel stuff doesn't mean that's what it is. Yeah, that'd be like going into a fish tank looking for a special kind of fish, but if there's like 90% of it's goldfish, then you're going to say, well, that either fish doesn't exist, or the fish that you see that doesn't look like a goldfish is really just a goldfish.
Okay.
Because DNA is not as fallible, I guess. Yeah. DNA is kind of one of those things, man. Where it's you can make it work for you. I wouldn't want to be on trial with just DNA, because then it really just becomes a matter of who can convince the jury. You know, DNA is everywhere. And how much how deep are they going to go with it? How much does the test cost and contamination and all that crazy stuff? It just seems like it's a thing that I don't know if I want to be a part of.
Yeah.
That's my phone.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, we do appreciate you listening to the podcast, the CreepGeeks Podcast. It's been we're kind of coming back.
Yeah.
Rolling into 2025 with our hair on fire, not by choice. Kind of is what it is. But yeah, this has been our season 8, episode 329 is the number. 330 starts our season 9, so that's exciting to listen to.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Did you know that?
No.
I just arbitrarily made it up when I wrote the podcast.
That
I'm like,
works.
330 is it? I thought about doing something clever like 333, but I'm just not that clever. But, anyway.
Okay.
Are you going to tell people where they can listen to the podcast?
Well, I did at the beginning of this hour and something podcast.
Hour and 27 minutes. There's somebody right now
So,
who's just
yeah.
like has skipped to the end.
Anyways, please be sure to follow us on social media. We have a fairly active Facebook group, CreepGeeks Facebook group, so it's easy to find. Anywhere you type on social media, CreepGeeks Pod, you should be able to find us. Or CreepGeeks.com. You can also call and leave us a voicemail message on our phone number, 575-208-4025.
Yeah. So anyway, I do appreciate you taking time to listen. We'll be back. If you have anything you want to share with us, hit us up. But yeah, anyway, see you later. Take it easy. Bye, Sickle.
Bye.